In September 2019, 40-year-old Steven Weber Jr. and his girlfriend Kenesha Antoine went on a vacation to Pemba Island. Steven had been dating Kenesha for a while by this point and had planned to propose to her during this trip. What neither of them knew, however, was that the happiest trip of their lives was about to turn into an irreversible tragedy. The groundwork for this tragedy was laid when the two arrived at the island and checked in to stay at the Manta Resort just off the coast. It had a nice, uninterrupted view of the ocean, as well as a roof area to relax and enjoy the tropical weather. However, the most important feature of this resort was the underwater room, which offered a 360-degree view of the marine life surrounding the resort. This room served as the whole idea behind how Steven had planned to propose. He put on swimming goggles and dived down to one of the windows in this room, prompting Kenesha to begin recording. He then unrolled a paper note inside a Ziploc bag and pressed it against the window. It read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day." He then flipped the note, and on the other side was a marriage proposal for Kenesha, reading, "Will you please be my wife?"
Oh, it's so cute. What?
Yo, how long is this gonna stay down there, man?
He'd also showed the wedding ring he'd brought for this occasion before swimming up to hear Kenesha's response. At this point, Kenesha stopped recording and rushed to the surface floor, eager to give her answer. But once she looked outside, instead of a smiling Steven, she saw nothing. Steven was nowhere to be seen. Kenesha climbed the roof, hoping he might have been up there. Unfortunately, there were no signs of Steven anywhere. He had vanished somewhere between showing her the ring and swimming up to the surface. After understanding the full gravity of the situation, Kenesha called for help, with several locals rushing to her aid. Unfortunately, it took some time to find Steven. He was floating in the water, and by that point...
Question, Jack, quick question, hold on. Guys, when you're like out of breath or whatever, right, and it feels like, okay, this is like the critical moment where I absolutely have to, right? You still have a little bit of time left, right? Like, I'm not saying you would never push it like further than that. Like, no, or also no. You still have a small margin. Like,
he was floating in the water.
If that's how he felt when he was at the window, he'd be able to make it up.
And by that point, it was already too late. Some resort workers tried to revive him with CPR, however, it wasn't effective. Steven had miscalculated how long he could hold his breath underwater and drowned before he could reach the surface. You can even see his hand shaking as he holds the ring near the end of the video, his body desperately telling him he needs air now. But in an effort to get his point across and make the moment that much more special, he ignores this, and unfortunately pays the ultimate price.
Bro, shaking me.
Mini Joe is a YouTube...
Chat, we can speculate then he probably felt like the moment where you have to go up, it'd be even before he pulled out the ring, then he was shaking when he had it.
Channel that occasionally posted travel videos up until 3 years ago. Most of these were typical travel vlogs showcasing the hosts of different expeditions around the world. However, out of the roughly 30 videos they've uploaded, one stands out for just how disturbing it is. This video contains a collection of footage Joe and his friends captured while doing technical dives in the Blue Hole in Dahab, Egypt, which is often considered the deadliest diving spot in the world. There are a few conflicting reports on the total number, but most people agree that somewhere between 130 and 200 divers have met their end while trying to reach its depths.
To the bottom,
that is an average of 8 lives lost per year, and unfortunately, the total is still going up. What's worse is that the remains of many victims are never recovered, which is exactly what made Mini Joe's video so unsettling. Their dive started off like any other.
Because I actually did some research about this topic one night because I was bored. Apparently now they have a security guard at the spots 24/7, apparently. And to stop people from doing this shit.
As they descended deeper, they came across the tanks, lines, and suits of those who came before and never made it back. Some of the remains were wedged into narrow crevices on the ocean floor, hinting at what might have gone wrong for them. Most were also taken over by the environment, suggesting they might have been down there for years. Above all, these encounters served as a constant reminder of the true danger of technical diving. Divers often have to carry multiple heavy tanks before they can even begin the descent. Then, once they're in the water, they have to constantly monitor their oxygen levels while also staying aware of their surroundings. Things only become more dangerous the deeper they dive, where even a moment's distraction can quickly turn fatal. However, all of this is true for any dive, regardless of the location.
But
What
this
makes
one-
the Dahab Blue Hole even more dangerous is the false sense of security it provides. Blue holes, for those who don't know, are like vertical caves in oceans that go a lot deeper than the surrounding ocean floor. And the one in Dahab, Egypt is an even more extreme version of that. One of the biggest contributors to its deadliness is its depth of about 426 feet, or around 130 meters, which isn't very apparent from the surface. It's also an almost vertical drop to the bottom. This catches many new divers off guard, causing them to miscalculate their gas levels and tragically become another name on the memorial near the diving site. One of the most well-known cases of this is 22-year-old Yuri Lipsky, a Russian diving instructor with plenty of experience under his belt. However, he had no prior experience with the Dahab Blue Hole, resulting in it taking his life. The footage from his recovered diving camera showed him descending into the depths faster than expected,
And then he goes,
struggling to keep his gas levels in check, trying to quickly slow down his descent, causing the buoyancy device to burst, and eventually succumbing to nitrogen poisoning in just 4 minutes after starting his dive. However, the sheer depth is only one part of this blue hole's danger. As Mini Joe's video demonstrated, the other part of its lethality comes from the network of partially collapsed caves littered throughout the area. They promise incredible views and look like prime diving spots at first glance, but in all reality, they are deceptively difficult to navigate through. Narrow passages and jagged rocks are everywhere. A single mistake can leave a technical diver stuck in one of these caverns with no way out until their gas tanks inevitably run out. The terrain also makes recovery extremely difficult, and many families of the fallen often opt to just leave their loved ones down there so as not to endanger even more lives in recovery attempts, which explains why Joe came across so many diving suits in his video.
Awful.
In July 2016, a diver named Jacob Childs went on a group diving trip off the coast of southeast Queensland,
Yo,
Australia.
why are humans so lame? Why do you hear everybody's dying there? You go, oh, I could go anywhere. I could go see some fucking sea turtles. I'm gonna go to the place where everybody goes to fucking die. Like, this is where I want to go to. Turtles? No. No. A sea algae? No. None of that. I want to go to the graveyard underground and fucking join them. Like, what?
The boat stopped roughly 35 miles or about 56 kilometers off the coast, and Jacob was the second to last person to dive. However, a minute after entering the water, the diving line slipped out of his hand. He thought he could swim back to the boat and start over, but as he got closer, he was shocked to realize the rope had been pulled in. And before he could think of what to do next, a strong current swept the ocean's surface and separated him from the boat. To make matters worse, the captain of the boat also sped off to go fishing while everyone was diving.
What?
By the time the other divers got back to the boat and realized Jacob was missing,
What? So they go,
he was
what?
already completely out of their view, leaving him stranded in the middle of the ocean 35 miles from the nearest piece of land. That said, the distance from land was the least of Jacob's worries at that moment. For starters, the water around him was nearly 20 degrees Celsius, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This wasn't nearly cold enough to make him freeze up and pass out immediately.
Yeah, this is some case of like criminal negligence resulting in death or whatever. Fucking, these guys got all the kills for that for sure.
But it
Like,
was cold enough
what?
to slowly sap away his body heat, making him more susceptible to hypothermia and exhaustion with every passing minute. It was also late in the afternoon and the sun was about to go down, meaning it was only going to get worse. After a while, a rescue plane flew above him twice, but it didn't see him. And this was while it was still bright, and the inflatable indicator was visible from quite a distance. He knew that once it got dark, his chances of being rescued would drop to almost zero.
What the? This is awful.
Well, the sun's going down.
Chat,
Sun goes.
chat. Is there not a small device you could buy, like a small piece of plastic, right? You could have. It's just like this, and it signals like an SOS to people above. Not even like a flare, like a fucking anything, a small thing.
Down there won't do nothing.
What?
That's a wrap on old. I guess.
I'm here at night. Come on, chat.
Unfortunately, there was nothing Jacob could do at that moment but wait and continue recording what possibly could be his last message to his family. Identifying the right direction and then swimming for over 35 miles would have been next to impossible. If he had taken it upon himself to try and reach the coast, he would have likely exhausted himself and drowned partway through. He did try to follow a fishing boat he saw in the distance, but quickly realized that he wouldn't be able to get close enough to get its attention, leaving him feeling dejected.
It's way too far for me. It'd be like 15, 16 meters now.
Yeah, I have a question, Chat. Is there a way to transform your equipment to like to float or something like that, or like to do anything at all to like maybe swim on your back or with some remove your suit or something? No, there's nothing you can do.
Besides, swimming too far from his original location would have also reduced his chances of being saved, since rescue teams would no longer know where to look. As the sky got darker and the rescue plane failed to spot him multiple times, the frustration was beginning to set in.
There's a plane coming back.
This is really fucking scary. I'm not gonna lie.
Rescue boat, way over there. Helpful, that...
The salty seawater was also making him extremely dehydrated, worsening his chances of survival by the minute. However, Jacob was experienced enough to know that panicking or getting angry wouldn't do any good. The right thing to do was to stay put while exerting the least amount of effort. After drifting in the middle of nowhere for over 6 hours, he was finally spotted by a helicopter and brought to safety on a rescue boat. With the sun nearly below the horizon, he came dangerously close to losing his life that day.
What?
Fortunately, he was able to recover with no permanent injuries.
Yo,
on the 26th of
after
May
this, I just quit.
2013,
I
a group
quit
of
all
3
water
tugboats
activities.
was trying to stabilize an oil tanker during a harsh storm nearly 20 miles or 32 kilometers off the coast of Nigeria. That's when one of the boats, named Jaskin 4, got hit by a massive rogue wave. This capsized the boat, causing it to sink rapidly and disappear below the water surface within seconds. The company behind this operation, West African Ventures, immediately set off a rescue mission. However, the harsh weather made any immediate rescue efforts near impossible. They eventually sent a helicopter to look for any survivors who managed to swim back to the surface. Unfortunately, even after a full day of searching, they didn't find a single member of the Jaskin 4's crew who was still alive. This left the company with no choice but to presume the crew deceased and begin a body recovery diving mission instead. The task of retrieving the remains was handed down to 6 saturation divers who were laying underwater oil pipes nearby. The only reason they were chosen for the task was because they were the closest to the site of the incident. Still, it took them around a day to reach the site and begin looking for Jaskin 4. The harsh waves had shifted its position significantly from where it capsized, causing even more time lost before the retrieval mission could begin. Unfortunately, that was far from the only hurdle the rescue divers would face on this mission. Once they located the Jaskin 4 and dove down to it, they discovered that the boat had turned upside down. It was now resting on its primary mast, which could collapse at any time. Due to significant pirate activity in that area, all of the Jaskin 4's entrances were also locked shut, forcing the divers to use specialized underwater torches just to gain access.
What?
Sadly, their assumption turned out to be correct. By the afternoon of the 28th of May, 2 days after Jaskin 4 had sunk, the rescue team managed to recover the remains of 4 crew members.
Yes, pirates are real,
Though
man.
2 were still missing. But just as all hope seemed lost, one of the divers, named Tony Walker, made an incredible discovery. For some context, Tony was being instructed on what to do by his supervisor, Colby Verretz, from the surface. Tony was also inhaling a gas mixture which was partially helium, making his voice higher. While looking around the upside-down boat, he came across what looked like a human hand. He assumed it belonged to yet another fallen crew member, but to his surprise, the hand moved and grabbed him back.
All right, so you should be walking on the ceiling, yeah? Okay. What's that? Okay. All right, you found one, yeah? He's alive. He's alive. Okay, keep him there. Keep him there. All right. Just. All right. Just hold him there, okay? Just keep him there.
Chat, I think this is really scary as well. Chat, I think it's also scary for the diver. Because imagine a guy that this is his only way to survive, whatever. Dude, he's holding his hand. He might not like go and shit. You know what I mean? Like.
All right, just keep him there and keep him calm, okay? All right, just reassure him. Pat him on the shoulder. Okay.
Jesus.
This was 29-year-old Harrison O'Kenny, Jaskin 4's resident cook. After over 60 hours underwater, Harrison was somehow still alive. He also seemed quite aware of everything that was going on around him and remained calm to help the rescuers do their job. Apparently, Harrison was in the bathroom when the boat capsized. He tried to rush to the emergency latch, but water rushed in and trapped the crew inside. To his knowledge, Harrison was the only one who managed to survive after creating a makeshift indoor raft from plywood, cardboard, and a mattress. After finding him, rescuers gave him fresh water and a harness to keep him close. However, the divers knew they didn't have much time to plan a proper rescue mission. You see, the air pocket Harrison was in was about to run out, likely in less than an hour. Harrison could end up suffocating if they didn't act quick enough.
An hour?
On the other hand, they couldn't just strap him into a rope and pull him back to the surface. He had already spent over 2.5 days in an extremely high-pressure environment. Taking him to the surface too quickly could have caused decompression sickness, which in extreme cases can also be lethal. Fortunately, due to their job of installing underwater oil pipes, the divers were uniquely equipped to deal with these exact issues. More specifically, they had a pressurized diving bell attached to the vessel, which they put Harrison in after consulting a doctor.
OP!
Had this been a standard diving crew with regular scuba gear, they wouldn't have had anything to keep Harrison alive. Once back on the surface, he also had to spend some more time in a decompression chamber to avoid decompression sickness, and was fairly okay after that. However, while he recovered physically, the mental trauma of being trapped in an upside-down boat on the ocean floor for over 2 days with no idea if anyone was coming to save him left him with PTSD, something he is still recovering from to this
Yeah, I mean,
day.
that's fucking awful. Jeez whiz, man.
On December 13, 2013, YouTuber Kodiak Thunder uploaded a video showing a near-death experience he had while diving. Unlike many other divers, Kodiak's
Scary.
motive wasn't to just dive as deep as he could or reach some underwater landmark. Instead, his diving sessions were more about catching fish and crustaceans by hand or with a spear gun. But while chasing a lobster, he swam too far into an underwater cave. He managed to catch the lobster he was after, but when he turned around, he had no idea how to get out.
The lobster set him up, How the fuck do you even know how to... Dude, this is scary even in a video game. I don't even know. I mean, I can't even imagine in real life, you know what I mean?
Fortunately, after swimming around in the cave for a few minutes, he was able to find the exit and swim out without any trouble. However, this was incredibly lucky. The thing is, diving on its own is incredibly dangerous. A single distraction can quickly spiral into an irreversible tragedy. But unless they're very deep, divers at least have the option to just swim up to the surface and wait for rescue. Though, not with cave diving. One of the primary hazards in a cave is the environment itself. Unlike the open ocean, many underwater caves have floors covered in extremely fine silt. A poorly controlled fin kick, or even the exhaust bubbles from a regulator hitting the ceiling can dislodge this sediment. This creates a silt out, a condition where the water's visibility drops to absolute zero instantly. Divers' high-powered lights become useless,
So you have to
and in
stop
some
them.
extreme cases, the diver can't even see their own hands, let alone their surroundings. This also makes them unable to see their gauges or the guidelines. In short, they no longer know where they're going, where they're supposed to go, or whether they're getting the right gas mixture. At best, they can keep swimming and hope the cave is straight enough to eventually lead them away from the murky water. But if they can't monitor their gases, nitrogen poisoning can become a serious problem. It impairs both their cognitive and motor function, leaving them to take their final breaths in the cave, unless someone is there to rescue them. Even then, rescue isn't always an option. Many underwater caves are extremely narrow, and with tanks and other essential gear, navigating these tight spaces becomes even harder. In most cases, there isn't even enough room to turn around. So if one diver passes out, the others can get trapped behind them and lose their lives there as well. One of the most well-known cases of this exact scenario happened on February 6, 2014, when a team of 5 Finnish cavers visited Norway to go cave diving through Plura Cave. All 5 of them were veteran cave divers and knew exactly what they were doing. They even had mapped out the exact route they planned to follow. However, as they were...
this is like the Nutty Putty underwater edition. Like, why? I'm
crossing the narrowest section of the cave, the cylinder of one of the divers got stuck, preventing him from moving forward and blocking the others behind him. The chaos of the situation resulted in 2 of the divers panicking, failing to monitor their gauges, and passing away within minutes. The other 3 barely made it out alive as well. One had to squeeze past the stuck diver by removing his gear and swimming the rest of the way, gasping for air from tiny pockets along the ceiling. The remaining 2 had to turn back and exit through the original entrance with almost no air left in their tanks. The fact that any of them made it out alive was nothing short of a miracle, highlighting the true horror of underwater cave diving. Because when things go even slightly wrong during a cave dive, even the most experienced and well-prepared divers can struggle to survive.
Scary. That's fucking scary. What the heck? Dude, all these cave guys, cave dudes, like, fucking fuck the caves, fuck the water, and fuck the cave waters, man.
On May 6,
Anyway, here's a cave video.
2019, YouTuber Connor Kelly posted a video of him exploring an abandoned McCoy gold mine in the Nevada desert. However, what was supposed to be nothing more than a fun adventure with his family quickly turned into a disturbing experience, one that would likely stay with the group for the rest of their lives.
Fuck me? xQc.
The exploration of this mine started off quite normal, with the group staying silent to avoid causing an accidental cave-in as seen by the text they put on screen. However, after about a minute and a half of treading deeper into the mine, Connor noticed something strangely reflective on the path ahead.
When to go?
So, do you see that reflection? We're trying to...
Check it out. Go slow.
Oh,
Oh, Jesus, what the... It's a shoe.
oh,
Look, is that like a fossil? Dead animal? Or human?
okay. Wait, don't move, Wyatt.
What?
What they found reflecting back at them was a shoe, amongst many more in a massive pile with random bones scattered throughout.
That's a bone right there. Actually, there's quite a few bones in this.
What made this pile even more odd was the sheer variety of shoes on display. Many of them were clearly very modern, while some were models that were released over 30 years ago. How could such a random assortment of shoes end up in an abandoned gold mine in the middle of nowhere? Things took an even darker
What the fuck? Why is the one with a bone in
turn when
it?
the group ventured further into the cave and found a bunch of bones, including a relatively intact spine.
So this is water flow. It is gonna be great.
Huh? But why are you still exploring the cave though?
Trust this.
Yeah, don't step any closer.
By this point, the group was growing increasingly unsettled by these disturbing discoveries, prompting them to leave the cave as quickly as possible. And that's where the original video ends, without any explanation or resolution.
What?
Connor didn't provide any more information in the video's description or in the comments. He posted 4 more videos after this, but none of these videos included any updates on the disturbing encounter.
Okay, buddy. Okay, I see what we're doing here. Bro trying to jumpstart his fucking YouTube career with some fake ass bullshit. Bro found the fucking like a discard your items spot with a bunch of shoes. Like, yo, hold on, man, and I let me cook it. And then he went and dumped a bunch of shoes. What if it was the random bone in a fucking shoe? Fuck you.
Either. So, what's going on here? One of the first things that comes to mind is that this mine was the collection spot for a serial killer.
Okay.
This would explain both the shoes and the bones. A top comment on the video
One serial killer killed fucking 600 people. Like,
also
okay.
backs this theory, stating, "If you ever listen to the Missing 411 videos, you know shoes are a major component of missing or abducted people. This sent chills down my spine."
Fuck you.
Which is true. A statistical analysis of the missing 411 data shows that over 15% of the cases involve absent shoes. However, this theory isn't entirely likely. For starters, I couldn't find any news reports regarding this mysterious pile of shoes, which is odd since, judging from the number of shoes, this supposed killer would have had hundreds of victims. If this pile had such a violent history, it probably wouldn't go un-
It looks like, I'm not an expert, that these were put in at the same time. So it's not just a collection that, well, a shoe there, a shoe there. It looks like it was all done because look, you can see the residual dust falling and pooling up in a pretty much natural manner.
noticed by the media. More importantly, many people on the internet agree that the bones in the video are not human. The group in the video reaches the same conclusion when looking at the bones for the first time.
No, it looks like a cow or a horse. Way too big for a human.
Put simply, the odds of this being a serial killer trophy cave are very low. But given the animal bones scattered throughout the area,
Back
it's
in the
possible it was the
jungle,
feeding spot of a
xQc.
predator like a mountain lion. Though, while that might explain the bones, it offers no clues about the pile of shoes. One theory I haven't seen anyone else bring up is that the shoes might have ended up there because of flooding. You see, the McCoy mine where the video was filmed is located in Lander County.
If there was some flooding, the shoes went, but you would have any sort of debris or any other items pulled at the same place. You would have anything at all. Whether it's a fucking juice box, would it be a piece of fabric? Only shoes, all pulled in one. Fuck off. Fuck
And
off.
from what I can find, that area is quite prone to flooding. So it's entirely possible that someone dumped their sneaker collection in the middle of nowhere to get rid of it, only for it to be carried in the abandoned mine with rainwater. A mountain lion could have moved in later, which would explain the bones. The only proof I have of this theory is that the ground in the deepest part of the mine is extremely wet and has water flow marks leading into it. Other than that, it's pure speculation. That said, another potential explanation for both the bones and the shoes is that
Guys, I'm looking at the laces. Some of those, a lot of them don't have laces.
Connor placed them there himself in hopes
Guys, a lot of them are shoelaceless. A big amount of them. So what? Everybody's had to take off their laces? Everybody? Oh, the flooring took away the laces? Nah. Nope.
of creating a viral video.
Yeah,
People
look
on
at
the
that.
internet have pointed out that the bones in the video are a bit too clean for something left in a muddy cave by a predator. Some have also claimed that a few of the bones look like they're inorganic fabrications. Another inconsistency in Connor's video is that he and his group keep claiming that all the shoes in the pile are kid-sized.
That's not even true, what?
He even mentioned that in the video's title, which
That's
reads,
not even true!
Kids' shoes and bones found in abandoned mine. Now, while that makes an already creepy situation even more disturbing, it's simply not true. There are plenty of adult-sized shoes visible in this pile. Unfortunately, I doubt we'll ever know what happened here for sure. It's been 6 years since the video was uploaded, and as I mentioned
I already
earlier,
debunked
Connor
it.
has vanished completely from the internet ever since. Action Adventure Twins is a YouTube channel run by brothers James and Edward. The duo has been exploring dangerous and crammed caves since early
didn't see
2020.
this video.
Yet, despite their combined experience, one of them almost lost his life back in 2022. In January of that year, the two decided to explore the popular Petty John's Cave in Georgia. They had already explored parts of this maze-like cave multiple times before, and had even found an underground waterfall during one of their expeditions. Put simply, they were pretty confident in their ability to navigate through this cave. But unlike their previous ventures, this time they were going to tackle one of the hardest sections, the aptly named Nervous Breakdown, referring to how cavers feel when going through it. Things started off just as expected, with the pair going through the narrow and claustrophobic entrance to reach the first open area of the Petty John's Cave.
Chat, is there not better shoes you could wear while doing this shit? Because this looks slippery as fudge, and I know for a fact that slippery rock is so fucking slippery.
However, it didn't take long for the cave to begin
Curiosity.
closing back again, forcing the two to squeeze through tiny passageways. But that was only the beginning. After about 25 minutes of crawling through increasingly tighter spaces, they reached the first big obstacle, a muddy room with a narrow and steep hole in the middle. They had to carefully walk around this hole to progress. A single slip meant falling into the narrow hole and possibly getting injured. And given the lack of safe footing around the hole, it would have been near impossible for the other person
I
to
will
pull
to
them out.
exploration. We're gonna.
After successfully navigating
You're
around
gonna
this
run out of
obstacle, they finally arrived at the
internet.
entrance to Nervous Breakdown. Unfortunately for them, things weren't looking good. The area surrounding this entrance had collapsed some time ago, making it very difficult to figure out the path ahead. After looking around for a bit, Edward
I will stream, but we have a massive fucking huge 500 feet cable with the device for Wi-Fi at the top, and instead of rolling a string to figure out where we're coming from, you unroll the fucking Ethernet.
xQc.
eventually found the real entrance and was excited to go in. He genuinely couldn't wait to find out what was down there and began his descent, leaving his brother behind in case something bad happened. What he didn't realize was that this was about to be one of the worst decisions he'd ever make. Because after descending for a few minutes, Edward called for his brother only to be met with complete silence.
I found a rope. Oh, I don't hear James anymore. Uh-oh.
Is he not gonna get his gear?
In other words, Edward was now lost in an unknown section of the cave without any means of contacting his brother. At first, he tried to stay calm and continued his descent, hoping to find James before long. However, after staying separated for over 30 minutes, the realization set in. He knew panic was the fastest way to make a bad situation worse, but at this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease.
Yo, 30 minutes is too long. At that point, you go up to the surface, you get some help. It'll accelerate the rescue, because if this guy's gonna survive 1 hour, he can survive fucking 5 hours, whatever. But after that, if you waste time, then what?
James!
And if your boat lost, how are you gonna help him?
James! It's been like 30 minutes since I last saw him. I don't even know where I'm at. I tried to go back to the last place I saw him, and everything just looks the same. It's just a jumble maze. We should have never split up.
After calling out to James many times with no luck, he decided to retrace his steps and find the way back. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the difficulty of the maze he was about to enter. Every direction looked the same. The narrow passages and jagged walls made it impossible to tell where he had come from.
Well,
to top it all
behind,
off, his situation was getting worse with each step he took. If he went the wrong way, he could easily wedge himself into a passage too tight to escape, or worse, plunge into a hidden drop-off. This is the true horror of caving. Even if he didn't injure himself, he could have just as easily wandered around aimlessly until his body gave way into exhaustion, leaving him lifeless in a cold, rocky crevice. The footage of him excitedly dropping into the nervous breakdown entrance would have ended with the camera recording his descent into confusion, fear, and eventually silence. Fortunately, that wasn't the end of his story. After going in loops for a while, Edward spotted a single piece of tape he saw on his way down.
Oh. The tape. Yeah. Okay, this tape looks familiar. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that could fuck you over so badly, though. What if it's tape that one caver was using it, and there's multiple of them?
Still nothing.
This unexpected clue turned out to be exactly what he needed. It helped him regain his bearings and finally head in the right direction. Finally, he heard the best sound he could have heard in that moment.
James! Oh. You're over here?
I mean, oh.
Oh. Dude.
What I mean, oh. Yo, if I'd be, yo, you fucking bitch, you fucking loser. Yo, you mother sucker. Are you stupid?
This place is a maze, man.
Oh, hey, I see your light.
Dude. I thought we were never gonna see each other.
Dude, I know.
Oh.
The two stayed together for the rest of the expedition and made it out alive without any major injuries. They're still exploring caves on YouTube, but now with a lot more caution. In January of 2014, a group of cave explorers decided to conquer.
I don't give a fuck. I'm debugging it. I'm debugging. I'm gonna be weird, and I'm gonna make an assumption. I say fake. You wanna know why? Because I'm gonna be dramatic. I'd be fucking molding. Hours when I see somebody else, your brother like that. Fuck that. Fake. Fuck you.
The Lost John's Cave in Lancashire, England. It's a vast cave network that spans a length of nearly 3 miles, or 4.8 kilometers. The known deepest section of this cave also goes down a staggering 690 feet, or 211 meters. Most members of this group had been spelunking for years, and like most other cave explorers, were quite confident in their skills. They had also done their research and mapped out their route in advance. But the truth about caving is, when things go wrong, no amount of planning can save you. Even the most experienced and well-prepared explorers can find themselves in terrifying situations, which is exactly what happened to one of the members of this group, named Bob Johnson. The expedition was going quite smoothly in the beginning, with the group using the equipment they brought with them to continue safely. That is until they reached a section of the cave called the Tube.
Okay, no,
It
I've
was
seen it
an
before.
unusually narrow section that required the cavers to crawl on their stomach. And to make matters worse, it was also partially submerged in water,
Maybe
making
not
it
actually.
difficult to both see and breathe. Despite these harsh conditions, the group decided to move ahead.
Oh, very
The
cool.
slimmest member of the group went first and successfully made it to the other side without much trouble. The next person, however, wasn't.
Why the fuck would you make? Why would you make your thinner first? Wouldn't you want to limit test it to see if it's possible by going with the fattest first? If you make the skinniest first, then you put the fattest, they get stuck. How the fucking skinniest gonna come back to go save him and get some help? Now everybody's fucking stuck. What?
As fortunate. This was Bob Johnson, the man we mentioned earlier. His crawl through the tube wasn't off to a good start, as he was already having issues with the comparatively wider sections of the passage. He then somehow managed to reach the tightest part of this treacherous section, but that's where his luck ran out. He was completely stuck from the waist down, and any attempt to free himself only made the situation worse. Now, being stuck in a narrow cave like this is extremely stressful on its own. The walls close in on you,
Yeah,
and
you
every
gotta stay
movement
calm.
feels like it's pushing you further into the tight space. Panic sets in as you realize just how little room you have to maneuver, and with each failed attempt
This
to free
is scary.
yourself,
Can
the
we
fear
watch Cop
intensifies. But as if the confined space wasn't enough to make his heart race, Bob now had to contend with something far more terrifying: the rapidly flowing water. Water makes any caving
Yo.
venture
Also, he's wearing some suit, right? The rock he's into, you wiggle too much, it rips, and the water gets into the suit, and you fucked.
times worse. In a dry cave, even if you're stuck, you still have time to think and plan your escape. But when water starts to rise, the situation shifts from bad to life-threatening. The feeling of water creeping up around you in an already claustrophobic space is a nightmare on its own. The real danger with water, however, is that you have mere minutes before drowning becomes a very real possibility. Bob knew this possibility all too well. He gave his all to free himself. Unfortunately, the water was quickly filling up his suit, making it even more difficult to squeeze through. But when the situation seemed hopeless, one of the members had an idea that ended up saving Bob's life. Instead of pushing
Feel the water.
forward, the members behind him tried pulling him back, and it worked.
Oh. What?
Yeah, it looks tight. I get it.
What? Oh my god, if it's another fake video, I'm gonna lose my shit. Another fake video. Another fake. Fuck you.
Of pushing forward, the members behind him tried pulling him back, and it worked.
What?
Hello, Mr. Cow. Can I get a welcome to the jungle?
I thought the water was all wet and you had to go under to go up. It's all air, it's all free at the back.
Yeah, it looks tight. I get it. Pull it!
Bob was finally free, though his troubles weren't over. He later revealed in a
couldn't pay me
comment that
$1
him and the
billion
two
to do
members who
this.
pulled him back had
Who
crawled
in
for
their
another
right mind
3
would wanna
hours to
do
get out
this
of the
for
cave
fun?
from a different exit. This incident also left him traumatized to the point where he can't even watch this video without becoming anxious. From what I can find, he scaled back on caving and picked up a much safer hobby in cycling, and now appears to be doing just fine.
Safer.
On the 7th of September 2024, the Action Adventure Twins YouTube channel posted a video exploring a mysterious cave someone found on their property. This is the same channel we talked about earlier, where the two brothers got separated and almost lost their lives in the maze-like cave. They've learned their lessons since and approached this one with far more caution.
Oh, come
But
on.
with an entrance as life-threatening as this one, even the best precautions could have proven to not be enough.
Alright, so the guy dropped us off halfway up the hill, and he doesn't know anybody who's been down this thing, but we were at the cave. He says he threw a rope down it with a rock and it was 200 feet deep before it stopped. So we got this stick here. We're gonna see if our rope reaches.
I don't
It's still... Oh. You were right, it kept going.
This alone is enough to terrify most people, with one person stating, "This channel has given me a new fear about walking in the woods. The fact that you could just slip and fall down a hole like that is insane. Now anytime I go anywhere, I wonder how many massive voids are right below my feet that I could fall into at any moment."
At any moment.
That didn't deter Edward and James.
At any moment.
They quickly secured their rope to a nearby tree and began descending into the steep cave. What they found inside was nothing short of breathtaking. That tiny opening gave way to a vast cavern.
I was walking my dog and I fell into a fucking 1x1 like Minecraft all the way down to the bedrock. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is a big one, man.
However, before they could fully take in the beauty of the cavern, things took a dark turn. Just seconds into the cave, the two discovered what looked like human remains scattered throughout.
That's comforting. Human bones, huh?
What's up with the fucking computers down there? What's up with the fucking computers down there? What? This is somebody's office.
Remember the cop
Dude,
who
look behind
almost
you.
overdosed in
There's
the
like a
police
little
station when
shrine
he
of
stabbed
them.
his son and the police shot him?
Oh man, this chat.
Dude, is that a human?
Oh, look at it.
Nah, I don't know. It's awfully round.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Another fucking...
Yeah, that looks human, man.
That doesn't necessarily make... I don't know. I'm not a bone expert.
From there, they continued
lose
exploring
my
the
fucking
cave
mind.
as it kept getting bigger the
Oh,
further
these
they went into it.
YouTubers.
They also discovered old caving equipment like ropes and harnesses already secured to the walls, a detail that only deepened the mystery surrounding the bones they had found earlier.
67
If they did
months.
belong to a person...
Oh, dude. Let me see this flat rock. Out of all this debris, these rocks, there's one flat one that can hold an object. Here's a fucking bone. Here's a skull on it. Here's a... Just for you to look at. It's a museum.
As the two suspected, it was possible they belonged to a previous explorer. This explorer likely had an accident and died in the cave without ever making it out. On their way in, they did...
Oh man, this YouTuber, I'm gonna... And this guy died. This guy died like this, right? And when he decomposed, his arm fell on top of a skull fragment. Because why not? That happens all the time. It fell on his own fractured head, dude. Of course.
As the
What
two
else would there be?
suspected, it was possible they belonged to a previous explorer. This explorer likely had an accident and died in the cave without ever making it out. On their way in, they did find scattered bones right below the entrance. These were likely the remains of people
same
who
guy with the
accidentally
shoes,
fell into
exactly.
the otherwise unassuming hole. However, the bones they found further inside were too far from the entrance to have belonged to someone who simply fell in. It's also possible that these remains belonged to the victim of a deranged
No,
killer.
this is the one from the other
Someone
guys
who
where
either
they got
ended
lost.
a person's life within the cave, or maybe threw the person into the hole and later dragged their body further into the cave. Some people, however, weren't convinced and accused the brothers of faking the whole thing.
Yeah, true.
Especially since the way Edward and James handled some of these remains felt a bit too casual. That said, while YouTubers faking these finds to get a viral video isn't uncommon,
If I thought there's a human bone, I wouldn't fucking touch it. Take a picture, and then you get the fuck out and you go report it to the police. This is mishandling of a corpse. This is a fucking crime. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't touch this fucking human remains, dumbass. Fuck.
this one turned out to be true. The video received several...
Oh, here's a body on the ground. Imagine if there was flesh on there. Oh, here's a body on the ground in the middle of New York City. Oh, I'm gonna bring a leg in my backpack and bring it to the police to see what they think about it then. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck is this?
From experts confirming
Let me
that these remains
poke it
were
around.
indeed real and human, with one such person writing,
Yo,
"My
things
girlfriend
getting
and I are
taken
watching
up,
from Canada. We're both paramedics. Definitely a human femur
Oh,
and a
fuck
human
you.
cranium." But this raised an even bigger question. When did the owner of these bones pass away? If they disappeared into the cave in the last few decades, this discovery could end up cracking an unsolved case. I ended up contacting the action-adventure twins to see what they had to say or if they had made any police reports afterwards. We ended up contacting the authorities about the bones. They were determined to be human and were apparently a Native American that either slipped and fell into the pit cave or was thrown in there after death and are 2,000 years old. While this did rule out the possibility that these bones belonged to someone more recent, the despair of whoever ended up in that cave alone 2,000 years ago is just as impossible to ignore. They likely fell into the cave, somehow survived the fall, and ended up starving to death while looking for a way out. On October 28, 2004,
What?
more recent, 2,000 years old. While this did rule out the possibility that these bones
They were determined to be human, apparently native and...
the cave, contacting the action-adventure twins to see what they had to say or if they had made any police reports afterwards. We ended up contacting the authorities about the bones. They were determined to be human and were apparently a Native American that either slipped and fell into the pit cave or was thrown in there after death and are 2,000 years old. While this did rule out the
This is the biggest cap in the history of YouTube. This is the biggest cappuccino I've seen on a fucking on an email my entire life.
Possibility that these bones belong to someone more recent, the despair of whoever ended up in that cave alone 2,000 years ago is just as impossible to ignore. They likely fell into the cave, somehow survived the fall, and ended up starving to death while looking for a way out.
All cap. I'm not cynical.
On October
I'm just not
28,
stupid.
2000.
I'm not cynical. I'm just not fucking brain dead. Brother, you think that the first guys to see these items, they're like on the side on a rock. A lot of people probably saw this. Like it's like some whatever fucking. It's fabricated, you moron.
For 50-year-old Australian airline pilot and scuba diver David John Shaw broke the world record for the deepest successful dive in history. He achieved this by reaching a depth of 270 meters in Bushman's Hole, one of the deepest freshwater caves in the world.
Also, why the fuck?
Of course it's a crime. What the fuck are you talking about? Bro, you think you could just fucking handle a body on the ground and just fucking do whatever you want with it? Bro, fuck you too, man, and fuck this video.
The sole purpose of this dive was to break the record. However, when he reached the bottom, he found something that stopped him in his tracks. He found the body of Dion Dreyer, a 20-year-old scuba diver who died in that cave 10 years ago. Since humans start sinking after a certain depth, Dion's body never floated back to the surface. Given the extreme difficulty and danger of diving this deep, any plans to retrieve his body were also cancelled at the time of his death. However, a plaque in his name was installed near the diving point of Bushman's Hole, which is how Dave knew what he was looking at. After staring at the body in shock for a few seconds, Dave immediately got closer and tried to retrieve Dion. Unfortunately, after a decade in the water, his tanks were firmly stuck in the mud. More importantly, Dave had already spent too much time at that depth. Staying any longer would have been fatal. So he decided to tie a line to Dion's body and return to the surface with the newfound information.
Wasn't very steep. And when I saw the body over to my left, I thought, oh, that's the end of going deep.
Oh, c'è vediamo.
So just tied my line.
What's broken like a chatter?
And by then I was, well, we won't discuss that. So I just flipped my line.
The news of Dion's body being discovered spread quickly, eventually culminating in Dave talking to his parents and promising to retrieve it. After a couple months of preparation, the next dive was scheduled for January 8th, 2005. Unfortunately, Dave's heroic attempt to bring closure to Dion's parents ended in a catastrophe far worse than anyone could have imagined. Cave diving, aka underwater cave exploration, is far more dangerous than regular spelunking. The divers have to manage their oxygen levels at all times, avoid often sharp rock formations, and explore the cave system in a far darker environment because even the brightest flashlights aren't as effective underwater, all while making sure they don't get lost. Add in the immense pressure of 270 meters of water above, it becomes an almost insurmountable challenge, one that only a handful of people on the planet are capable of overcoming.
What the fuck? Is these
So
like fucking 10
everything needed
tanks?
to be perfect for Dave's operation to succeed. He worked with police divers, the defense force, and medics to ensure everything went smoothly, and they planned the dive second by second. According to the plan, Dave would use the line he tied earlier to reach Dion's body. After cutting it loose and putting it in a special body bag, he would begin his descent. This descent would have taken around 12 hours to avoid decompression sickness. So instead of holding on to Dion's body the entire time, Dave would pass it along to his longtime friend Don Shirley at 220 meters. Don would then hand it over to support divers located at various depths and keep checking on Dave for any issues. Sadly, this is not how it went. An hour and a half after the dive began, the surface crew received an ominous message from the support divers, claiming that they hadn't seen any activity from Dave or Don. Shortly after, another message reached the surface. This one was from Don, stating that he's seeing Dave in the distance, and he's not moving.
Don's dead.
Don's okay.
Dave's not coming.
Dave, the diver?
While this message was making its way to the surface, Don tried to reach Dave himself. He exceeded his target depth, which resulted in his rebreather controller imploding.
Yo, that's dumb as fuck. I read the comment, and I didn't even think about it. Yo, I wasn't making a joke, dumbass. Yo, if I was making a joke, I would add a different tone. I just read the fucking, because the chat spent it. I didn't make the connection, it was the fucking video game we played. Shut up. Act annoying.
This also led to him suffering from oxygen poisoning.
I would have had
and
a face when
vomiting
saying
while
it, like I would have said
220
something.
meters under the water. Fortunately, he managed to keep hold of the line and was eventually pulled out of the water still breathing. Dave, however, didn't make it. But when rescue teams pulled out his body, they made a shocking discovery. Dion's body was attached to the recovery line as well. Following the recovery, investigators looked at the footage captured by the waterproof camera mounted on Dave's head. This is what they saw. Though I should mention, I couldn't find the raw footage from that camera. The only clip of it online is narrated by Don himself, Dave's best friend who we just talked about, who almost died trying to save his life. The footage shows Dave moving alongside the line to find Dion's body, and then trying to put it in the bag. Unfortunately, this is where the plan started falling apart. Dion's body was unexpectedly loose from the mud and was moving around uncontrollably. Dave tried to complete his mission despite this, only to end up getting tangled in the line.
This line is just getting everywhere because this body is floating. It's not stuck. Everything's moving. Right. Light gets caught on the line there. Move it out of the way. Still got a nice bright light.
All this effort caused him to neglect his gauges, resulting in Dave feeling the effects of nitrogen narcosis, which include poor judgment, trouble concentrating, and reduced muscle and nerve function. Put simply, he lost everything he needed to survive at that depth. He tried to cut the tangled line, but the lack of coordination made it near impossible. As he was struggling to stay conscious, the last thing he saw was the terrifying view of Dion's lifeless face mask staring back at him. Shortly after this, Dave passed away. The only silver lining was that the tangled line kept Dion's body close to Dave, allowing him to successfully complete his mission by recovering the body, only at the cost of his own life.
Jeez. How about a happy thing? We can watch.